Hi students, here is an opportunity for class 11 students CBSE, and I am giving this lesson Discovering Tut, the saga continues. I'm sure right now this chapter is being taught in the classroom and you are enjoying the lesson. But some of our students have some problems in this lesson because it belongs to ancient Egyptian history and it is the story about pharaohs, Tut and all such things. So I would like to give you a brief summary of this lesson which will help you understand better when you attend classes. So to start with, I want to take you back to a movie, Mummy Returns. Have you watched this movie, students? This movie is about Egyptian mummies. And what do you mean by mummy? Mummy means actually the dead bodies of pharaohs, the kings of Egypt, were preserved, and they are very much there, still there. It was custom in those days that the dead bodies of Egyptian kings, pharaohs, were preserved, and so far only one body has been discovered and we have some knowledge about that, and this body is of King Tut. Okay, now question is, who was this Tut, whose real name was Tutankhaten to begin with, and later on he became Tutankhamen. Name is strange as you can find it. This first of all I would like to give you the dynasty of this ruler. To start with, there was a ruler called Amenhotep III. Actually he was a very powerful pharaoh, Egyptian ruler. He ruled for 4 decades, and as I told you, he was very powerful and influential ruler, and he may be his grandfather or he might be his father. Historians are not so sure because it belongs to ancient Egypt. We don't have clear records of their lineage and dynasty, but he was a very powerful ruler, this Amenhotep III, and he ruled for 4 decades. Quite a long regime it was. Egypt progressed by leaps and bounds during his regime, and he was a very successful ruler. Then he was followed by his son, was Amenhotep IV. Amenhotep IV. This Amenhotep IV was a crazy person, a wacky kind of person. He was eccentric, the kind of person, actually he brought about some fundamental changes in the religious practices. Actually till then it was practiced in Egypt to worship Amun, the moon god. It was practiced in Egypt to worship the moon god, but he changed the practice. He started worshipping sun disk, sun god. And not only he did not stop there, he broke the images of Amun wherever it was and destroyed the temples dedicated to this god. So he was a very crazy kind of king. So he changed everything. He shifted the capital, religious capital, from Thebes to Amarna. So he brought about fundamental changes, and the manner in which he did all these was very strange. You may call it the strangest period in the history of ancient Egypt. That crazy ruler was followed by Menkaure, and he came and went. He did not make any impact. It was a brief rule. How he came and how he left, actually no, we don't have any historical record. But he was followed by a young ruler called Tut. He was known Tutankhaten. Okay, but this ruler brought back the old practices. He reversed the policies of his grandfather or father to Amenhotep IV. Okay, and he changed everything. He started the worship of god Amun, and he started building temples, and he restored the old practices. And I want to tell you that his regime may be called the high water mark in the history of ancient Egypt. It was the highest point. The country developed in all fields. Egypt became a world power, but this king did not live long. At the age of 9, he became a pharaoh, youngest pharaoh. but at the age of 19 he passed away, and his death is mysterious, and archaeologists, scientists and others are trying to find out the reasons of his death, but they have not collected enough information. So his death is still shrouded in mystery. We don't have much knowledge about this. So actually he was the first pharaoh whose tomb was discovered, and it all started in 1922 when Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, after futile searching here and there, came upon his tomb, and he found his tomb, and he is the first pharaoh to be discovered by any archaeologist. And as the data suggests that there may be 500 or more pharaohs whose tombs are yet to be discovered. And I was talking about Howard Carter, a British archaeologist. When he found his tomb, he was amazed to see the royal collection. He was buried with all the wealth and riches, food, wine, different kinds of things. Actually, it was believed in ancient Egypt that king lived after their death. This means king had afterlife, and that life started after the death, and that king would need all those necessities and comforts of life which he enjoyed while he was living. That's why when he was buried with all the costly items, jewelry, artifacts and all kinds of items of comforts he was buried with. So because they believed in afterlife, that king had a journey, another life after his death. This was their belief system. And then he was amazed to find, actually his coffin was quite rich. I'm talking about the burial chamber where he was buried. The mural on the wall, they found they were amazing, and his coffin was three-nested. When he removed the first layer, he found that his body was shrouded, and it had like garlands made of olive, celery, corn flour, and they indicate that he probably died in the month of March and April. And one thing more, actually there is information that because this ruler was very popular, at a very young age he became very popular, and he had diplomatic relationship with all the countries of the world. So after his death, a lot of tributes were paid and lot of gifts came, and they were also buried with his body. So he died as a very rich pharaoh. So now I am talking about Howard Carter. When he removed the first layer, actually it was a three-nested coffin, he found all these things which I have mentioned, that his body was covered with shroud. It had garlands of willow, celery and corn flour. They indicated that he might have died in the month of March or April. And but when he reached the lower part of the coffin where his body was there, actually he found that his body was stuck to the bottom of the coffin, and it was the bottom was solid bottom made of gold, and his body was stuck with the bottom of the coffin. And actually the resins which had been used there, actually they had stuck his body to the bottom of the coffin. His body could not be removed. Carter tried to use proper force to remove the body from the bottom of the coffin, but the resin had solidified and it fixed his body to the bottom. It was very difficult to remove him from, and Carter's concern was that if his body was not removed from the golden bottom of the coffin, then thieves would destroy his body, because thieves must be looking for the gold, and in this way this great evidence of the ancient Egypt will be destroyed. So Carter wanted to remove the body from the bottom of the coffin. He applied proper force, but it did not work. As you know, actually his place of burial was in the middle of desert. Howard Carter thought that his place of burial was in the middle of the desert, and desert sunshine is very hard. Sun was beating hard on the sands. So he thought that if his coffin was taken out and his body was exposed to sunlight, actually the resins would melt, and in this way his mortal remains may be raised. But again, this did not work also. Then what was the option left? He chiseled the body from the bottom of the coffin, and in the process lot of damage was done. Okay, lot of damage was done. But because it all happened in 1922, the technology was not so much developed, so Howard Carter did not have much option, had many options. So he had to do this to preserve the body, but damage had been caused, no doubt. So he became the first archaeologist to discover his tomb, and he tried to remove his body for further study from the bottom of the coffin, and he had to apply force, and he had to chisel the body away from the bottom of the coffin. In this way, Howard Carter became the first archaeologist to discover Tut's tomb, and now journey continues, his saga continues. There will be other archaeologists, forensic experts and radiologists. They will scan his body in the years to come after 1922. We have a history of that, and I will be giving you more information about that. So dear students, I have completed part 1 of this story. Part 2 will be coming up soon. Keep revising. Have a nice day. Keep smiling.